So you started wearing the hijab on Fridays.
Yes.
And then how did that evolve to suggesting the hijab day?
Well, the Muslim Students Association at McMaster had Islam Awareness Week at some point. And I was walking by the table, they said, and they had themselves, they had a little panel with try a hijab. Yeah. And I talked to them, I talked to the women, I said, you know what, why don't we do that, you know, one day? What don't we all try to wear a hijab? And they liked the idea, but they were kind of, they were a bit afraid to propose it themselves.
Why did you want to propose it, or what was your concept behind it?
Because, well, precisely before I wore the hijab, I knew there was a lot of a negative reaction towards Muslims in general, but I didn't expect that this particular sign was so, how shall I say, threatening to some, you know. And
is there an explanation why it's threatening? You know, do you have any explanation?
Yes, well, the explanation I have is, unfortunately, that people associate Muslims today with terrorism. I have been told many times that one of the things I was told was don't do anything with Muslims because you're going to be remembered as a crazy leftist who defends fanatical terrorists. And that was not something I could accept.
What type of person who would make this
Any kind of person. Persons who think, you know, not necessarily bad people, but for my own good. The thing is, what I've noticed, and which is true, women wearing a hijab here in the US in particular, in the States it's even worse, they are looked at differently. Some of them are attacked, harassed, even killed, and simply because they represent, or they seem to represent, a particular religion that is associated with terrorism, unfairly so, because there are so many other terrorists in the world. Why do we focus on Muslims, you know? And like you said yourself, nobody knows what hair color Mary, mother of Jesus, has. I used to live in Bathurst and Wilson, and my neighbors were Orthodox Jews. The women were covered as well. It's not about the religion. It's about the fact that a group of women are being targeted for a particular reason because they are Muslims, you know, and because they wear that sign. And that's what, it's a human issue and women's freedom issue.
Yeah. And it's sad, in a multicultural society like Canada, it's a wonderful society where we get people from all over the world. You still get people having this kind of thoughts. And, you know, the issue is how do we get, you know, get rid of it? As you mentioned earlier, there are bad people in every face, in every culture, every race. There's, you know, most people are good.
They're not necessarily bad. They're so, well,
some are. Some every race, every culture has some bad, but doesn't mean that you, you know, standardize and say all people are bad.
No. The problem is that I don't think people are so bad. There's certainly bad people, but I think the big problem is that a lot of people are ignorant. That's the problem, and they're afraid. Fear and ignorance are the two weapons here that are used to terrorize actually everybody, not just the non-Muslim, but the Muslims as well.
Okay, so if we go, you suggested it. How did you advertise it throughout the university, or what?
Well, I talked to the Muslim students, especially the women, so I kept going to the Friday prayers, and I talked with the women a lot and everything, and we decided to pick a date, and we advertised it. I remember, well, the student did a lot of work on that, actually. The students who advertised. The Muslim,
what was advertised? How was it advertised?
Well, I don't know, I don't have the poster here, but the title was Wear My Hijab, Be in My Shoes, just for a day, you know. Just try to see how it feels. You know, and also it was a little message for people who look at those women and think, oh, you know, they're oppressed and terrorists, thinking like, this day of all days, since so many women will be wearing one, and some of them won't be Muslim, so maybe you will think twice before saying something, because you might be talking about your mother, your sister, your wife, you know what I mean? So just to show that they are women like us, they're human like us.
Well, this is interesting. We have to go for a break, and we'll discuss more how did this evolve. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back to Spirit of Islam. Today we are talking about Hijab Day at University of McMaster, and my guest is Professor Muriel Walker. And before the break we were discussing that it was advertised. So what was the response to Hijab Day? Did a lot of people participate?
Quite a few, yes, because the Muslim students, the women, brought a lot of hijabs, you know. They brought their own collection. I bought some with some of my students, and they were all gone. Like, I don't know, they were between 60 and 80, something like that. So it was, and it was a very pleasant experience for everyone, for the Muslim student, for the Muslim girls and non-Muslim girls. it was even girly sometimes, because the Muslim girls would advise on accessorizing the hijab, you know, and it was very peaceful and good-hearted. And certainly the young women who participated and wore hijab all day were not forced to wear it, that's for sure.
Was there a lot of non-Muslims participating?
Yes, yes, yes.
So non-Muslim. And what feedback did you get from them?
I had great feedbacks from students. Well, from students mostly.
Well, let's start first with female students. What was their feedback?
Which ones, the Muslim or the non-Muslim?
Non-Muslims.
The non-Muslims were very, very happy, because they learned a lot through that. You know, they've been in their sister's shoes for a day. They know how it is to walk around and to wear a sign that is these days associated with something negative. And yes, there's a presence. There's something that happens. You know, people don't look at you the same way. There's a wall between you, especially if. You know, I think Muslim students, the young women, are used to that. So they desensitize, I'm French. But for someone who's non-Muslim, who's used to a certain way of looking at me, for instance, and then this look changes, that makes a big difference.
Does it change when, is it just for wearing the hijab? Because there's a lot of non-Muslim ladies wear hijabs. Not hijab, but it's a scarf.
I know.
It's defined as a scarf.
I know, but definitely we can say that young women who wear an actual hijab, and they're all not all the same. We had different style as well. But I think it's very, well, you have a good point, but, you know, how do you know if they're Muslims in particular? I don't think they, for instance, Orthodox Jewish women do wear scarf, but they don't put it on the same way as the hijab, you know.
So any specific comments you heard from young ladies wearing the hijab that really, you know? Oh,
like I said, they really enjoyed it. So they really learned from it, and they loved the experience, you know.
Okay. Did they express they were uncomfortable by it, or it didn't bother them?
I didn't buy it.
Sorry?
No, we gave them to them.
I know, but uncomfortable for wearing it? Did they feel uncomfortable during the day?
Some did. Well, some said yes. They were sometimes a little bit, you know, aware. You know, but it went well. I mean, McMaster is a nice place to McMaster was the right place to do that, because I think there's a lot that, in particular in the student population, there's a lot of tolerance. So that would be, to me, I mean, that was the right place to do that.
Well, I honestly think it's an experience should be shared by everybody.
I think so too. I want to do that to all, and I'm calling on to other Canadian universities. That's one of the projects I want to push forward. Is why not pick a day of the year and, you know, and do that in all Canadian university. We do that for breast cancer, and why not? It's solidarity towards women, not towards a religion.